This video is brought to you by Dehancer Film Emulation, a plugin to help photographers and videographers achieve the look of film through digital means within the following software. For more information on how Dehancer can help you achieve the look of film on your frames by adding authentic and tested looks, compression, grain, halation, bloom, and more, check the link in the description. He was as complex an artist as any, who devoted his life to photography while simultaneously destroying it in the process. He knew this deep down, letting it out in a reflection by stating, "I always entangled my loved ones in my own self-involvement in the name of photography, but I couldn't make anyone happy, including myself. I was always lost, and I led others astray as well. Is there any joy in taking photographs?" Through all of his projects, he brought in personal relationships and exploited them for the sake of his art, whether it was his wife, his family, or himself, in the form of introspective reflections. Looking through the viewfinder at these subjects was a pivotal part of his work. His former wife, who was involved in so much of what he created, put it this way by saying, "He lived with me for 10 years, all the while looking at me only through the lens, and his images of me were unmistakably nothing but images of himself." When trying to invoke the spirit of creativity in a way that is healthy and beneficial to those around us, by looking at the art of someone who failed to do so. Is it possible to create great art without this lack of balance? Or is sacrificing the value of our artistic expression necessary to maintain positive and joyful relationships? This is a cautionary tale. This is Insight for Inspiration, Masahisa Fukase. When looking at the work of Masahisa Fukase, it's first important to note that he didn't necessarily exploit the relationships in his life for any great financial gain or clout. While he was an established photographer in Japan following the Second World War, so much of his work was kept concealed from larger audiences until after his death. So it wasn't until long after it was conceived that it gained any kind of praise, since he remained in a coma from 1992 to 2012. The exploitation of his subjects was through the awkward circumstances he put them through to create his work. Work, which Fukase felt was necessary to have an introspective look at himself and how he related to the subject of photography. Photography was connected to Fukase through multiple generations. His family owned a photography studio, which had been in the family long before he was born. So throughout his life, there was an expectation that he would continue to operate the family business, and a disdain for photography grew within him. He reflected on this by saying he was force-fed the business, developing, printing, enlarging, retouching, minor corrections, to the point of belching, from when he was a child of 3, and that he was forced to do all this by his father. While his peers were playing, Fukase was being pushed and pulled to develop a love-hate relationship with the photographic trade. In 1952, at the age of 18, he moved to Tokyo to focus on photography in college. This allowed him to cut ties with the photographic career that would have come had he remained in Hokkaido. Instead of becoming a photographic craftsman, he put his focus on the artistic side of things. The first major work that put this transition on display was titled "Kill the Pig." It showed slaughterhouse images of pigs juxtaposed with other images of nude male and female bodies, as a commentary on the horrors of meat processing. Not only was this the first exhibition of his work as an artist, it was also the first time Fukase warped a relationship for the sake of his art. He and his girlfriend at the time were the nude subjects in the photos. But the real manipulation of his girlfriend wasn't simply in the nudes, since she may or may not have been perfectly fine with creating those images. During the time these photos were being constructed, his girlfriend Kawakami was pregnant, but the pregnancy ended in stillbirth. Fukase took images of the stillborn corpse that he included in the exhibition as part of a deepening of the slaughterhouse concept, as a way of furthering his own understanding of his relationship with photography, and as evidence that in his eyes, photography is simply a way to engage with death, which is a concept he would go back to multiple times throughout his life. As he puts it, time passes inexorably, and death comes to us all. It comes to old people, to young people, to children, to me. For me, everything is a commemorative photograph, to be eventually stuck in a battered old photo album, Shortly thereafter, Fukase's life changed dramatically. Kill the Pig got widespread media coverage, Kawakami was pregnant again, and she disappeared with their child. This caused Fukase to go into a deep depression until roughly another year had passed, and he met Yoko, a woman who would become a central figure in his life going forward, and for much of his work over the next 10 years. In 1963, his work with Yoko began where images he'd created with Kawakami left off, as a kind of reflection on the past and a move into the future. Wearing a black cloak, Yoko stood in the slaughterhouse and posed for Fukase as their first collaborative effort together. Not long afterwards, the two married, moved in together, and Fukase's fascination with photographing his wife began. He would photograph Yoko continually for a year, not half-heartedly but actively, even though I'm aware that the results might be uninteresting. This quote highlights the obsessive way Fukase photographed his wife. It's something he would do for the 13 years they were together. One series that is the byproduct of this period is called From Window, and consists of photos of Yoko taken from their apartment as she went to work every morning, displaying different emotions for her husband, sometimes loving expressions, and other times revolting glances. Fukase's relentless photography would prove to be what pushed Yoko away from him, when she began to feel that they seemed to be together solely for the sake of photography, and that their life together was full of moments of suffocating dullness, interspersed by violent and near-suicidal flashes of excitement. She ended the relationship, and Fukase could not conceive of what had happened. Once she left him, Fukase became an alcoholic and had debilitating depression. Through this time, he assembled the work that they had created together as a way of coping with the situation that was completely out of his control. Control was a major aspect of his photography. He stated that, "I work and photograph while hoping to stop everything. In that sense, my work may be some kind of vengeance drama about living now." In 1971, prior to the breaking down of their relationship, they made a trip back to Fukase's hometown in Hokkaido. This trip sparked another of Fukase's long-term projects that reflected on his relationship with photography by using his family as subjects. The projects were titled Family and Memories of Father. Through these projects, he took a standard boring topic of the family album and distorted it by putting members of his family in odd situations. Yoko appears completely or partially nude in some photos, while everyone else is dressed in regular clothing. In other photos, all members of the family face away from the camera. Or Fukase appears alongside his father, both in only their underwear. These images are interspliced with photos of the family's old photo albums in their final configuration, and there are several takes on this project and what exactly it meant to Fukase and his family. From one perspective, his family is clearly going along with his artistic desires, and had to have been accepting of him on some level. Other perspectives see this work as incredibly cruel. In particular, the image of a perfectly healthy Fukase standing with his father who is clearly in failing health. Tomo Kusuga, who is the director of the Masahisa Fukase archives, writes about this photo stating, "The photograph of Fukase and his clearly ailing father is a masterpiece. It is cruel. The old man looks terribly frail, while the younger man's gaze appears to cherish the power he is being granted by the camera, and also by his father who has submitted to that. The submission could have arisen in a variety of ways. We have no way of knowing. The old man was a studio photographer for many years, and I'm refusing to believe that the knowledge of what a camera can do would have left his mind completely by the time the picture was taken. There's a slight smile in his expression, maybe a hint of that knowledge or acknowledgement. Fukase's essay informs me that back in the day, he was well known for his ability to prettify his shots, to straighten people's noses, firm up their mouths, and level up their shoulders. This is a form of benevolent cruelty, making people see themselves in their pictures the way nobody would see them in real life. There's more to the picture though, given it's just the father and son, surrounded by nobody else. There's just so much space around them. They're close, and they aren't. They're separated by so much. There's also the perception that this was a form of payback for the cruelty Fukase faced from his father. I was terrified of my father as a child. He had an extremely short temper and would fly into rages at the slightest thing. Projects were created in the family's studio over 15 years, and it follows the end of his father's life once he became sick. Fukase reflected on this saying, Everyone in the family, every person I see upside down on the focusing screen, will die. The camera is a device of documenting the dead, dealing with his father's death, and continuing to push those in his life into awkward situations around his creative process. Fukase created one last portrait of his father and family together by gathering everyone in their funeral clothes, with a portrait he had made of his father placed where he would have stood in the photo. 2 years later, in 1989, the studio, which had been in the family for generations, closed, and the members of the family went their separate ways. The end of the studio and the end of his relationship with Yoko caused Fukase to go further down the rabbit hole of introspection. During this, he closed off further into loneliness and turned to animals, specifically cats and ravens, as a way of reflecting on his life. Technically, he had photographed cats for a much longer period than that, stating, "Cats have haunted me like shadows for the past 40 years of my life." Like shadows. Isn't that a photographic way of experiencing things? 2 cats he received as kittens shortly after his divorce are what he really used to reflect on the current state of his life. Lonely and looking for some sort of affection, he took images of the cats as they grew over the next year, and claims he wasn't interested in the grace or cuteness of cats. "I saw myself reflected in the cat's eyes. I wanted to photograph the love that I saw there." What was considered his most well-known work prior to his death are the photos he took of ravens in a series called The Solitude of Ravens. In 2010, a panel of photographers and critics from the British Journal of Photography selected this book as the best photo book of the last 25 years because of the deep emotions it expressed during this time of solitude for Fukase. In Japanese culture, ravens are seen as disruptive creatures that signal dark and treacherous periods. In the afterword of this book, Akira Hasegawa writes, "In the case of Masahisa Fukase, the subject of his grace became the raven. For him, the raven was both a tangible creature and a fitting symbol of his own solitude." Those without knowledge of Fukase's heartache typically look at this work as a reflection on the aftermath of World War II. In this case, The Solitude of Ravens has also been regarded by many as the most important body of work to come out of post-war Japan. Ravens' haunting imagery continues to inspire artists and writers today, according to the Michael Hopping Gallery exhibition of 2016. 3 series revolving around how he experienced photography that involve himself as the subject, titled Shike, Private Scenes, Akuro Mi, Walking Eye, and Bukubuku, were all reflections on his life and his solitude. Private Scenes involves landscapes Fukase captured as he traveled through Europe that all include parts of his body. Of course, I am the subject of these photographs, but what interests me is the means of capturing the distance from objects in the background, and sometimes I feel it would be better if my face were not in the pictures. At the same time, I'm unable to stop putting myself into them. He continued this series back in Tokyo, with the concept of capturing himself at arm's length without the use of a self-timer, essentially the earliest project dedicated to taking selfies, and the egotistical nature of taking photos of yourself. Fukase stated, "Whether it's a hand, a foot, a face, or a sketch of the city, all the things and phenomena appearing in these photographs are reflections of myself." The 1989 project Walking Eye was the result of Fukase retracing his steps by going back to the places he lived at since he moved to Tokyo 30 years earlier. He began this project by going to the apartment complex he had lived in with his former wife. The visit sparked feelings of guilt and shame for him. My desire to take photographs grew unceasingly, and the gravestones of images piled up in mounds. He carried that feeling into other places he lived, walking around each area aimlessly and reflexively taking photos of whatever he noticed that took him out of a trance-like state he put himself in when on these walks, saying, "The shutter automatically clicked as soon as my optic nerve was entangled with something in my field of vision." He continued to dive deeper into solitude with his last project titled Bukubuku, which he created near the end of his waking life in 1991. The series was created in his bathtub and explored the reflections he became obsessed with when the still surface of the bathwater created a mirror that could be manipulated. He was drawn to how random the photos were, and stated in his final journal entry on the project that, "Tonight, I will finish Bukubuku completely." I have done enough with Bukubuku, and I am sure that it will endure as a world-class masterpiece. What will possess me next? My whole life has been nothing but an obsession with photography. Not long afterwards, in 1992, Fukase had an accident where he fell down a flight of stairs, leaving his favorite bar. This caused him to go into a coma for 20 years, until his death in 2012, at the age of 78. Heartbreakingly for Fukase to never realize, his ex-wife Yoko visited him throughout this period of hospitalization, twice a month, stating that he remains part of my identity. With a camera in front of his eye, he could see, not without. The work of Masahisa Fukase is hard to unravel. He clearly involved those that he loved, while seemingly pushing them away, all for the sake of his art. But the perception of this changes based on the accounts you read. His life speaks to the loneliness and obsession that comes out of truly following your artistic instincts to their fullest extent. And if anything can be used as a cautionary tale, it's the story of Fukase's life. Thanks to Dehancer for sponsoring this video. If you want to make your photos and video look more like film using their plugin, check out the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, keep developing.